life cycle perspective. If you are just thinking of, hey, this is the upfront cost, think of all the tenants down the road. Even if you are leasing your building out to tenants who are going to have to pay for all the utilities, if they're comparing that building to, say, the one down the street where their utility bills are going to be higher because they're using inefficient equipment that's outdated, maybe they have a lesser price per square foot, the choice is clear. People are going to want to pay less for utilities over time. Not to mention there's a whole lot of other marketing benefits that are not necessarily as quantifiable, but if you're building a green building, which, as was alluded to here, which is really just good quality building, efficient building, there's just so many other aspects that are out there that you have to consider. So does green cost more? It really depends on what you're looking at. From a health perspective, I mean, we haven't even been able to quantify a lot of the areas too, with volatile organic compounds and a lot of the formaldehydes, urea formaldehydes, things that are in a lot of the building products. We don't even know how these are affecting people. We've gotten really good at insulating our buildings, and we're trapping a lot of those chemicals in. How do you put a price on that? And when you have a family who's looking to rent a building or rent a unit or purchase a unit, and they've got small children and pets, and they're concerned about that, you've got a leg up as opposed to the people down the road, because at least you've considered it and you've done work on that and made it have less of an impact. So the answer really is it depends, or if you're strategizing, then it can cost you less or it can pay for itself sooner.
Well, as far as the city is concerned, whenever we spend money, we're spending your money, tax money. And so there's a public accountability to making those expenditures. And clearly there is a public benefit to building a green building. If you start to factor in asthma rates, or all of the health issues, the city needs to set an example. So there's no question in the city's mind that, that this, in terms of a public benefit, this does not cost extra. In fact, it will ultimately reduce costs. But to stay on track with the question that all of you are probably interested in, I'd like to just point out two examples, two recent examples that the city has worked on. One is a small cultural facility in the Bronx. Some people may consider this a borderline neighborhood. This is a facility which teaches performing arts to local children. They had absolutely no money. When we came along, they had actually had a cake sale to raise the funds because the tap floor, but the wood floor to teach tap dancing cost more than they thought. So when I told them, oh, you're captured by the LEED law, we now have to bring on additional expenses to save energy. But what happened after the groans, we figured out that this project, because of the nature of how they paid their energy bill, that they could get a NYSERDA grant. So we set that up for them, and NYSERDA, you'll probably explain more about it, but it covers the costs for both consultants and actual equipment. And they were thrilled to learn that they would get new heating and cooling equipment that would be partially paid for. So, and they will be doing a 20% reduction in energy use. The other project, all the way at the other end, is the new police academy, which is just beginning design. This is an 11-building campus on 35 acres in College Point. It's 2.5 million square feet with a $1.5 billion construction budget. The consultants working on that project knew very well that they had to know about modeling. They had to show how every item that was considered green, exactly how it would get paid back and in what time period. There's plenty of modeling programs out there that do that. And with the current modeling on this project, it looks like they will do a 35% reduction in energy use. That'll certainly be over the cost-benefit analysis over the lifetime of this huge campus, that is an enormous savings. Okay.
Thank you. From our perspective as lenders, we're looking at what does it cost to operate multifamily property, either property that's been around for a number of decades or new construction. And in focusing on property that's been around for a while, we promote that the owners try to achieve efficiencies both in energy savings and water efficiencies. And is this going to cost? Initially, I mean, everything costs something. There's going to be an initial investment. But the payback for some of these simple undertakings that one can do, the payback period is relatively short, 1 to 2 years. And that return, that investment will be earned back, and then cash flow will be enhanced. The property will be running more efficiently, which is good for the owner, good for the environment, and good for the tenants. Just a list of some simple items that we've included in our specifications going forward with properties that we're funding the renovation of. Just air sealing and fire stopping, the payback is quick on that. More efficiently sized boilers in properties. A lot of boilers spec'd out for apartment buildings that we renovated 25 years ago weren't correctly sized, and they're inefficient, and now is a good time to pursue replacing them. In addition, some of these items like the boiler replacement in most neighborhoods, you can obtain J51 tax abatement from the city for that. So again, you have the initial cost, but this abatement will reimburse you for that, and also MCI tax increases, at least for the time being. More efficient heating and water controls certainly save the building, and it's not a big investment. Better shower heads, more efficient shower heads, toilets, aerators. Upgrading of ventilation systems can have a tremendous impact on energy efficiency. Not very expensive, and short-term payback and enhanced cash flow. Certainly lighting retrofits and Energy Star appliances. And then a capital improvement which would cost a significant initial investment, but will pay back both over a relatively short term and through J51 tax abatement and MCI rent increases would be windows. State-of-the-art windows are much better than what was being installed a decade or two ago. Now, we also, as I said at introduction time, we're involved with NYSERDA and weatherization. And when you have big capital needs, a program like NYSERDA really comes in handy. I'm involved in a project up in Washington Heights right now. It's a co-op, and in addition to a number of other energy efficient scope items that they're pursuing, this property was built with master metering on electric, and they're going to sub-meter. Now, this is a fantastic thing to do. They don't have the reserves to pay for that, but they're achieving great efficiencies in accordance with the way NYSERDA looks at things, and that with the other items that they're pursuing. These incentive grant, the incentive grant that they'll be getting from NYSERDA will pay for a substantial amount of that, plus funds they're borrowing from us will finish off the package and get the building on sound footing. So I guess a long answer to the question, I really believe there is payback to pursue these lines of investments over the short term, and for investors in terms of cash flow, and for owners and co-ops and condos in terms of savings. Thank you.
Wow, that was a lot of information. Now, my next question, I think, builds on that. I don't know about you, but when I go to events like this, where I have half a dozen experts giving me information, and I'm writing furiously, and I'm writing it down as fast as I can, and it's